what are typical first signs of burnout for someone who's kind of like, is it that you're finding it hard to relax and that you're kind of
Yeah.
like for anyone
Yeah.
listening who kind of goes, I'm kind of, I'm on the path possibly, but I'm not sure. What do people need to look out for? What does one need to be aware of?
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the first signs, there's signs in different categories. So in the work category, a sign of burnout would be not feeling fulfilled in your job anymore, feeling more cynical than you used to. Specifically, healthcare workers with burnout, they have compassion fatigue, which means they're a really compassionate person, but they've just lost the ability to feel compassion at work because they're just so mentally numbed because they're burned out. So those are
Wow.
some of the work signs. So you're not enjoying your work. You don't feel as passionate about it. You feel more cynical. You don't feel hopeful about the future for your career. So those are kind of career-based ones. Because I also work in the corporate world. I work with people in, corporate jobs and in finance as well. And for those people, they often identify with those as triggers from a work perspective. Then there's things from a life perspective that are triggers for, okay, there's something wrong. So one of them is when someone becomes fatigued versus just tired. So tired means that you haven't been getting enough sleep. So you might be, overdoing it, burning the candle at both ends. You might be just sleeping for 6 hours a night and you wake up and you feel tired because you haven't got that 8 hours or 7.5 hours or 9 hours, depending on the person, of that sleep. Fatigue, on the other hand, is defined as when you were getting that sleep, you were in your bed for those amount of hours and you still wake up feeling tired, feeling unrested. That's called what we call fatigue in medical speak. So if you tip over into fatigue, meaning you're getting those hours in bed and you're still waking up feeling tired, then that's a sign that your body is entering into this kind of burnout kind of phase. Other people start off with, and actually a lot of people start off with this hyper arousal phase, as you mentioned before, just feeling like some people say they feel jacked up. They feel wired but tired. And sometimes the wired comes before the tired. So sometimes people will feel like they have a nervous energy and they kind of crash into sleep at night. But during the day, they're on edge. They feel on edge. They feel anxious, but they still have energy because it's like a nervous energy. So feeling on edge, feeling wound up, having trouble relaxing, that can also be an initial sign.
The like we have you heard about the blue zones?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And Dan Buettner, the guy who was one of the kind
Yeah.
of the spearheaded it, he often has the phrase that we live in an obesogenic environment. That it's, if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
if you're overweight and you're ill healthy, it's
Yeah.
very likely not your fault because the environment, the unhealthy choice is a lot easier than the healthy choice.
Yes.
And nowadays I look at our environment, I look at like we're 44, we're 43, 44 next month. And I kind of go in
Yeah.
the last 20 years, like since social media and phones and Netflix
Yeah.
and like, it's just life has become so much more always on. And
Yes.
has it been the last 20 years that it's massively skyrocketed because of email and text message and
Yes.
WhatsApp and Snapchat and Instagram stories and I need to have
Yes.
abs as well and I want to be a mother or a father and I got to buy a house and I need to go to Bali because
Yeah.
someone just went to Bali and then I'm
Yeah.
going to be happy and I need a career, and all these things. And I
Yeah.
just wonder, has it skyrocketed in the last 2 decades?
Oh, I think so, definitely. I just turned 40 a couple weeks ago, so I'm in the same cohort as you guys. So yeah, I think it is more challenging now to shut off than it ever was before. And of course, it's not all bad. Of course, social media comes with good things too, and access to the internet. Information is power for people with chronic illness. So there's good things too, but that inability to shut off easily is a huge, huge factor in burnout. So screen time has gone through the roof. And we can't avoid these screens completely. I mean, I work on a computer. I see people doing virtual medicine. I see people from all around the country, which is amazing that they can access me. But I sit on the computer all day. So, I think we have to do things to combat these things. For me, I turn my phone on airplane mode as soon as I finish work. That's a big one for me. And there's other things like doing mindfulness meditation. I try to fit in even 5 minutes at lunchtime. Getting out in nature, putting your feet, this sounds like very hippie woo-woo stuff, but literally just putting your feet on some grass if you can.
And do you like the term burnout? Like is it because like we've got a good friend of ours is
Yeah.
a consultant gastroenterologist, And the word IBS, he really has a problem with it. He says it's
Yeah.
an umbrella term that is masks the underlying issues, and people kind of get attached to this kind of, I have IBS, but it really could be
Yeah.
a whole plethora of other different diseases or illnesses which are a lot easier to treat. What do you find about the term
Yeah.
burnout? Do you?
Well, I think, in medical terms, I'm not writing burnout as the main diagnosis when I'm seeing a patient. But I think it's a term that people identify with. And I think one of the reasons why is it seems a lot more socially acceptable to accept that you might have burnout than for some people, for example, to accept that they might have depression or an anxiety disorder. So I think from that perspective, if it gets patients saying or people just saying, okay, I think something's out of balance, I need to do something, I think it's a good thing. But certainly, of course, in medicine, especially in integrated medicine, we want to look at root causes. So I completely agree with your friend who's the gastroenterologist. And he actually sounds like a really good gastroenterologist because, yeah, when I see patients who have come to me with the label of IBS, I'm doing stool testing, I'm doing functional medicine panels. Sometimes I'm working with a gastroenterologist to get them scoped. And we're seeing, looking at the brain gut connection, the vagal nerve tone, which is how the automatic nervous system is working and affecting the gut. These are all things we're looking at rather than, as your friend rightly said, saying, oh, you just have IBS. So rather than saying, oh, you just have burnout, we obviously have to get to the potential causes of burnout, the precipitating factors, the contributing factors that are making the burnout continue. And then we treat those individually, getting to the root causes as much as we can, really.